At American University, we don't just hope for change, we create it. We don't just dream of a better world, we make it a reality. With a graduate degree from AU, you'll access expert faculty and connections throughout DC to develop skills and experience to turn your passion into purpose. And that purpose can make all the difference in your career. Discover the difference a degree makes at american.edu/grad school.
Welcome to My Creative Corner 3, a podcast about quilting, crafting, creativity, and life in a northern town. You'll find show notes at mycreativecorner3.wordpress.com. You can leave a comment, you can sign up for my patron site, you can purchase a virtual cup of coffee, or even sign up for the newsletter. Come back weekly and we'll chat. My name is Vicki, and welcome to the podcast. Hello, everybody. It's April 23rd. And yes, we are about 6 weeks into the stay-at-home order in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I am saying all that for people in the future who want to come back and listen to this program and go, what was the stay-at-home orders all about? 6 weeks, yes, we've been staying at home, minimal interaction with people out in the community. I've been working from home, and I have to say I really like working from home. When things slowly start opening back up, I'm kind of hoping I get to work at home for many of the days and not have to go to the office for a lot of it. I don't mind working from home at all. I don't. I kind of like it. But the flip side of all of that is, what do I miss? Don't miss a whole lot of grocery shopping. No, I miss shopping with my husband. We would go together. It was kind of our weekly date. Sometimes we'd get lunch and then go grocery shopping, kind of make a positive thing out of something we both didn't enjoy doing. And but I don't miss the grocery shopping part. In fact, I could send a list and send him to the store forever and not miss the grocery shopping part. Other than that, I just miss getting out of the house a little bit. If it were nicer weather, it'd be great to walk around the neighborhood on the trails. That's part of the Rails to Trails program, and they have it all nice and covered with gravel, and it's easy to walk on and flat. But it's been like up to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts this week, and snow. Yes, it snowed again. It's been not good for outdoor walking, and this is why I can't have a exercise program based in walking for cardio. So I'm going to have to come up with something else. If this were long-term, I would have to come up with like a bike or some sort of machine in the house because the gyms are closed. And I haven't been to the gym, and I'm not sure I want to go back to the gym, even if it survives this, the economic thing, because of germs. Are you like me? This has triggered the germaphobe in me that's been always bubbling under the surface. But going out in the community, I want to come back and like burn my clothes and shower and all of that. I don't. Okay, I don't, people. It's in my brain. It triggers this germaphobe thing every time you're around somebody who clears their throat or has a little bit of a cough. I feel like I want to just go put 3 masks on their face. But so far, so good. Humor aside, nobody in my family has been ill or having any problems. I had a little bit of a cold and didn't feel great over the weekend, but it's just, I think, run-of-the-mill allergies and a cold that was going around. But it also starts to make people really start thinking and be anxious about, well, is this it? I mean, I know a lot of people in our community. I know several people personally who've been sick, but they're doing well. And we have a couple of people who are not in our community. So we're going to continue to pray for them. But overall, what does all of this mean? Absolutely nothing. It's bringing a whole lot of nothingness, right? I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing much of anything. And I feel like I'm not getting anything done. That's what disruption of the routine has done for me. Now, the good news is our governor has made Headspace for Michigan available. And I think Headspace, headspace.com has a lot of pandemic types of meditations and sleep music and things like that for free. So I've been doing those using the free program, and I really like it. I think the guy does a very nice job. So that's headspace.com. But it also helps me to bring back reality, because when I'm home all the time, I feel like I just am not getting anything done. Even when I'm working, it's like I'm at home and I'm plinking around on the computer and I'm answering phone calls and I'm doing all the things that I do and doing research and, making sure everybody's medications are on time. But the doctors don't need me as much, so they're doing their virtual med reviews, so I'm not as much a part of their day. So it just is different. The routine is different. So I have really had to look at my list. I have to keep a log of my day for work and what I'm doing, and it also helps me to go back and read it and look at, I really have been doing quite a bit. There's not a whole lot of downtime. And when there is downtime, I'm doing my required continuing education, which is always boring. And that makes you feel like you're not getting anything done either, because it's just sitting around listening to videos, listening and watching videos and taking tests. And, it's not super exciting stuff. So the other thing that I have been doing is really documenting everything that I have been making on my time off of work. And because I feel like I'm not getting anything done. But then when I start to look at what did I do this week, because you're not leaving home, and I'm doing a lot more sitting on my butt watching TV in the evenings, and just the disruption of the routine. It's a mental thing. I realized since the last podcast, I have made several Dear Jane blocks. I am up to block number 14. I made a YouTube video about the Dear Jane blocks. I bought the new electric quilt Dear Jane add-on. Now, I was really disappointed when I started this Dear Jane quilt, because the electric quilt add-on had been discontinued, and I did not know that they were coming out with a new one. And I was using the free program that SusanGatewood.net has. And it's a good paper piecing program. But the electric quilter program works with my old computer better. It also gives you options. Like do you want a paper piece? Do you want to hand piece? Do you want a foundation English paper piece? So it gives you several options. And I've ran into 3 blocks currently that are really hard, and they're actually Drunkard's Path, and they need to be hand pieced and have templates. So I'm really enjoying using the electric quilter. It's also on a phenomenal sale. I think I got the add-on. You have to have Electric Quilter 8. I'm just saying that part because this won't work for you if you don't have EQ 8. You can, of course, upgrade for a small fee, but the program is only like $32 with tax. You can download it instantly to your computer, and it has this great progress tool where you take actual pictures of your block and you pop it into the place in the program where the block is originally in Dear Jane's quilt. So I have that done, and I mastered this week all of the pictures and putting them in the program. It really doesn't take much, but I was missing a really important step, reading all the words, in my ADHD brain on a screen, which is not always best for me. If I'm going to do a lot of reading, it's easier for me to read paper documents. So I found it that Electric Quilter has YouTube videos on how to use this add-on, and it was a 7 or 8 minute video, and bam, after hours of plinking around and reading the directions, I am definitely an audio visual learner, and I got it going. So that's all caught up. I love the tool. So anyway, you can get the Dear Jane add-on for a very little price until the end of the month. And then I think it's going up about 30%. So you have a week to look at it and see if it will work for you if you want to jump in on the Dear Jane. I love making the Dear Jane. And so a couple of other people I know on the internet are too. It's a quilt that's really hard, and it's forcing me to stay mindful while I'm making it, and I'm making lots of mistakes and I'm having to take them apart. But it's also forcing me to get excited and learn things. But then when I have a little bit of stress from to making the blocks, because sometimes you get stressed, then I go to something simpler. So this week I made 2 tote bags. I had just enough heavy duty canvas to make 2 bags for 2 nurses that are in my department who've been doing some covering of going out in the community for me during this time. And what I did was I made the bag a simple handled open top tote bag. And then I appliqued some orphan blocks. I had 2 orphan blocks from last year that I put interfacing on it, iron it on to make it real stiff because the fabric of the canvas is stiff. And then I blanket stitched it right on the front of the canvas bag before I assembled the whole thing. I put it on first. And then I lined it with this really cute ladybug cotton, and it's really super cute. So the canvas is the color of a yellow school bus. I know, it's so bright, but I think what's so fun about the bright bag is that I put some really fun blocks on the front. Like one of them is it's a really sweet Riley Blake fabric with a red, white, and blue star on it. But in the corners, in the white, is a floral fabric with yellow in it. And so that brings the yellow in. In the other bag, I made a block that was a free block from Moda Bake Shops. Their quilt along last summer. Kristen Esser designed this block, and it's on point with the pinwheel in the middle. And the rest of the block looks like there's a square within a square on point, and it has yellow in the center. So that yellow brings in the yellow of the tote bag. So those are simple projects because the blocks were already done. All I had to do was put them together, and that was super fun. So I've been kind of procrastinating because I promised these ladies bags for covering for me over Christmas and some of the things last year. And if you remember, this is kind of a embarrassing story, but we didn't have a lot of money at the Christmas time. And so we have this big nurses, this is like the second or third party in December, and it was an exchange, and it winds up being very expensive, and people are buying gifts that go well over the budget, and I took something small in, and yeah, it just didn't even meet up. I mean, I stayed within the rules, but I don't remember what I took in, but it was just pitiful compared to what everybody else brought in. And that's why I hate these kinds of things, because I followed the rules. Oh, I know. I made a handmade gift. I made a plaque with my Cricut and tea towels. And everybody else brought in like $50 worth of very lavish gifts with wine and crackers and spa things. And mine was kind of kitschy. And anyway, you could tell it was the game where people steal the best bag of goodies. And mine's never picked. Ever. So anyway, the nurse who got it was the nurse who works with me, and then I promised her a tote bag because her gift was so small. And then here we are, it's April, and so both nurses in that office got tote bags because they both work really hard and help me out a lot. I wanted to do these bags at Christmas time last year, and I didn't. I don't know what happened. I just ran out of time. I ran out of motivation. And then I started procrastinating, and it was needling me in the back of my mind since Christmas time all the way to April. And I finally went, listen, Vicki, you are complaining that in your brain, you're complaining to yourself that you're not getting anything done. And the Dear Janes are tedious little blocks that take a long time. So let's do something big and easy without starting a new quilt. And I went, well, I promised those 2 tote bags. So that is what I did this week. I started checking off the list all the things that I have been putting off. I've also got myself down to 1 more quilt to bind. And I am not a big fan of sewing the bindings on. I don't mind the hand stitching after it's sewn on the front, because that's the method I use. But I am down to the last big quilt, and I'm going to work on that over the weekend. Then I can look at the stack of, I think I only have 2 quilts to quilt for myself and no customer quilts. And you know what? I kind of like not having a lot of customer quilts. I am not sure that I'm going to go back to advertising and really wanting a lot of customer quilts. Because it becomes stressful in a time management crunch when I work outside the home. And I may pick up my business cards from the quilt shop when she opens back up to the public. I'm really thinking about that. I don't mind doing some long arming occasionally for friends, but hustling customers all the time and then working 12-hour days, I've done that a lot over the last decade since we've owned the long arm, working before work and after work. That's one thing I've learned, that, quote, not getting anything done, really, the insight for the week is I'm not working 12-hour days, 5 and 6 days a week. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I'm just need to back off and work more on my own creativity projects and not get upset because I'm working on other things that are taking up a lot of time. Now, I don't mind keeping my hand in doing a few quilts here and there for friends. I don't mind even doing t-shirt quilts because I'm working on, that's the other thing I worked on this week. It's just one of those things where when you have a stack of 10 or 15 staring at you and you only have a couple of hours a day to work on them, it does start to weigh on you, kind of like those tote bags, weighed on my brain for 5-6 months that I didn't get them done. And so I need to just look at my overachieving can get you in trouble if you're an overachiever. I like to check the boxes, and I like to look at that Dear Jane thing with all the little squares filling in, and I really, really do enjoy that. And then I think, part of being an empty nester and in midlifers that, I'm not running and doing as much, so I fill that up with excessive noise, projects, like all the handwork and all the things that I'm kind of stuck on. So that brings me around. I'm just going to keep plugging away at the Dear Jane. I am playing around with the idea of starting a scrappy trip around the world. I've never done that, and I've got lots of different fabrics in the stash now, and I think this would be a good time to work on something like that. The other thing is, I don't know if I want to do a scrappy trip or if I want to do a true trip around the world, where I think I want to do an actual true trip around the world, not the scrappy trips, which is kind of a cheating way of doing it because it's not one big quilt that just has lots of rounds on it. It's lots of little trip around the world blocks that you put together. So I'm thinking about doing that as a goal this year. And I also have an improv quilt in the back of my mind that I want to work on. So those are the only 2 for the rest of the year. And quite honestly, if I do the quilt from start to finish, that will be plenty. That'll be plenty of quilt projects to have in my mind. I'm also really glad that I got bogged down this winter on projects and I didn't spend a lot of money entering quilts into contests because, most of them are not happening right now. and I'm okay with that. Not gathering for the summer is okay. Our festivals up north are canceling already over the summer, and our local Alpenfest in Gaylord has canceled. I I'm not real sad about it because it really is a sacrifice for the neighborhood with the traffic and all the problems. And this is going to be like a 1970s summer. And so that has made me very, very nostalgic. I really feel like I'm going back to my childhood in a very simple time, even though I have the internet and I'm streaming games and watching, videos. And I'm continuing to binge watch Time Team, which a lot of them are from the 90s into the more recent 2000 show. But it's just been kind of fun reliving these memories. I found a couple of Facebook groups about being a Gen X, and I also found some Pinterest boards. And it's just so much fun to see what people enjoyed and remembered, from our youth. Toys we played with and Atari and the shows. Oh my gosh, some of the shows I totally forgot. Now, this is something my husband and I do a lot because we both graduated from the same class at school and we know the same people and we watched a lot of the same shows and we get the references to the 80s, but it cracks me up, of all the things, we say that, other people don't get because we're old now. It's just hilarious. So it's fun and it's been a great time of reflection and actually trying to reassess, where I want to go with things and reliving some really fun memories of the 80s. Like, oh my gosh, some of the things that I used to like. I tried to watch a couple of the shows. You ever done this? Tried to go back and watch some of the shows now that we have the technology on things that I enjoyed back then. I'm like, man, this does not hold up. Why did we watch this? Things like some of the soap operas and but I do miss things like when MTV was out and they actually played music videos. And I know we can get YouTube videos and watch, kinda, but it's not the same because then I have to think of a programming and I have to I have to make my favorite set list, which I have. And then it just, I just liked the pre-programmed, you turn it on, listen to the music, and then you can watch the videos and not have to think about programming a list or the random things on YouTube every once in a while. It goes off of like a music. If I want to watch music videos and just leave it there, I can't get it to stay on music. It'll start playing other things that I like. And so I don't know, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. See, obviously. So that I miss MTV. I miss some of the water cooler shows, we used to call them. Things where everybody watched it because there were only 3, 4, 5, 6 shows that you could watch and everybody watched. And then you would talk about it the next day. And like Murphy Brown and, Friends was more in the 90s. But, things, from my childhood where you watched it, everybody watched it, everybody talked about it. And there was this collective culture, face to face, where everyone talked about, oh yeah, this show, they did this. I was surprised. I figured that would happen, or they took a twist that no one ever thought. This collective community, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And I kind of miss that. And it's kind of sad that, usually takes, weddings and funerals to get people together. And, I feel that way about, it took a pandemic for me to really get jostled in my brain that I do kind of miss the local community and friends of face-to-face people. I talk to a lot of people virtually, but I'm kind of missing actually seeing people. So I'm looking forward to going to lunch, and I'm looking forward to, getting together and having chats with people face-to-face. And I think that will be lots and lots of fun. So I also miss the original Atari. We played games like Frogger and Pitfall. I was no good at Pong, and I was no good at some of the other fast games, but Yeah, I miss some of those things. So what am I doing now? Well, I've replaced that with phone games like, Solitaire and the phone version of Animal Crossing. I've been playing those. Some puzzle games. Continuing to watch Time Team and stream the shows. They're also a little nostalgic because a lot of the ones I've watched recently are from the 90s. So that would be, time of my early adulthood and the fashions and, it's fun. But I like that show because it's about archaeology and history, and I've learned it's a great way to learn a lot of things on a subject I didn't know a lot about because it was exceptionally dry for me in high school. And then I just really need to focus this week of resetting the button of not thinking that I'm being lazy because I'm at home and not doing a lot of exercise. I've ordered an exercise gadget I'll talk about more when it gets here, and I've actually tried it, trying to get some paces in around the house. So that's the thing at work. We have really long hallways, and I was getting in a mile minimum of walking specifically to get up every hour and walk and move. And I miss that. So I'm going to stick a hat on today and brave the wind and try to get in a mile of walking and getting back to building up to 2 miles of walking a day, plus some of the strength training that I want to do. But, that's what this is all about right now is the sacrifice and the disruption of routine and trying to figure out a way for my mental strength to stay there because this is a long-term mental game for me. I don't know about you, but it's more about being mentally tough and getting through not doing the things that I normally do. I've found people that I've become very bonded with, people that I know in real life and that we're speaking virtually, friends, peers. I've also found some people that I was shocked at some of their ideas about the pandemic not being real. Yes, there are people out there who think that. And, I can't, those are people I'm not going to continue to invest time in because that just breaks my heart. And so, yeah, it's been good of bonding with people and sorting out the people that I'll be friendly with and polite to, but maybe not invest all of my relationship energy in, and finding out that I am actually good at being home a lot. What I miss is getting out and doing things, and I miss going out to eat. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also having a little extra time on my hands, so it's been super fun of being nostalgic and looking at what makes me as quintessentially a Gen Xer and all of the things from my youth, and what also being in that middle sandwich generation means as a Gen Xer between my boomer parents, who have done a great job, but there are a lot of baby boomers out there and they're kind of leaning on us a lot to help get through. My parents live 3 hours away, so I can't see them. My sister lives next door. She can't see them either, but at least she's there if something happens, versus also the generation behind us, the millennials and zennials, who outnumber us by quite a bit, who are also leaning on us for a lot of strength and experience because they don't have a lot of life experience yet. I don't know about you, but I do feel that sandwich generation thing right now. I also feel the stress of of just kind of like being a Gen Xer. We are used to we're used to a lot of things, and the isolation part has not been amongst my Gen X peers has not been that difficult. We're the latchkey generation. Our parents worked, both my parents always worked. So there was lots of time at home being by yourself and filling your days and being responsible for the things you have to do. My kids are the same way, so being alone or being isolated, quote unquote, hasn't been hard. But what's funny is, as a Gen Xer, is it just kind of bring this. This has brought up a whole lot of these thoughts about being a Gen Xer and being a Gen X woman between two different generations who have very, very different ways of thinking about life, and especially during times of crisis. So I've thought a lot about it. I've done a lot of writing about it that's probably not for public consumption, but it's just interesting, is that we all have a very generationally and culturally different way of viewing, coping, and assimilating all of this into how are we going to make our life work. So I'm lucky that my baby boomer parents are taking this seriously. They're not being the rebellious teenager baby boomers where some of my friends' parents are, and they're running around the universe and they don't care. My parents are very seriously trying to socially distance, and so are my kids. But at the same time, people have jobs and people have lives that have to be lived, and sicknesses and health and problems, and we've had deaths in the family, and we've had just all of these things have been made more difficult, but it's also become generationally very, very clear how we all are dealing with it in a different way. And speaking of generations, the other hobby that we restarted this last month is ancestry. And so I've been going back through, and that's also probably been part of the wave of nostalgia, is my dad and I, especially my husband's doing his side of the family, have been working on via the internet, because he's 3 hours away, of looking at all of the things that you can find about your family, and looking at pictures and posting pictures and finding articles and surprises and being very real. I remember great grandmothers, and I remember their stories about their parents. So I have a lot of collective memories about a lot of people. So it gets very interesting going back into the 1800s and reading newspaper articles and obituaries about the people. See, to me, it's not necessarily that they're necessarily my relative, and that I'm concerned that I'm related to kings and queens and, presidents and movie stars. It's finding, the humanity in the stories of the people, and, people coming over from an old country, mine is England, and moving, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and coming to America and following their story of, why did they come over and where did they settle, and the hardships, or the people who were very successful. So that's also another hobby of mine, and it's been very cool. Kind of goes with my interest of archaeology and time team. So everybody have a most wonderful day. I'm going to go to work now. I'm going to fire up my other computer for work and jump in on the first meeting of the day, which is, we use Skype where I work, Skype for Business. And people have been using Zoom. And I don't know about you, I'm so sick of using group meetings like that. However, I would rather do Skype than real life meetings every day of about 20 or 30 people, right? But yeah, I'm getting sick of Skype and Zoom. So maybe I don't say I miss meetings, because I don't, because I can do other things like color and doodle and make lists and whatever during meetings. But because when you're there face to face, you really can't. But overall, I'm sick. That is one thing I'm super sick of in the technology department. So let me know, what is something that you are looking forward to that you miss right now? Something that you're getting really sick of being in self-isolation. And you can always join and do a show and tell me what's happening in your life on the My Creative Corner 3 Facebook group. I'm also doing YouTube on Vicki Holloway. I hope to add more videos over the next month. And as a patron, I did not do a extra content for April. I realized that yesterday, and April's almost over, so I'm going to have to say I'm sorry that I didn't get the extra content done for patrons. But I love you and I appreciate all of your support. And I will do extra special content beginning of May. So you can be a patron. You can also do a one-time virtual cup of coffee, which I have some regular coffee buyers, and I thank you very, very much. And you can purchase those in my Etsy shop, My Creative Corner 3. All of these things you can find on my website and blog, mycreativecorner3.wordpress.com. I am thrilled to be able to work from home and continue my income, and social distancing is intact. Let me know how you're doing, and be creative. Quilt on, everyone.
Now is the chance to use reliable energy to grow your money with the Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. Our new investment product offers competitive returns, no maintenance fees, and flexible online access to your money. Make the reliable investment in reliable energy. The Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. To find out more, go online to reliabilityinvestment.com. That's reliabilityinvestment.com.